Hi there. Welcome to Spring Into Math 7. I'm Mrs. Campbell, and today we're going to be talking about absolute value. Okay, so before we get started talking about absolute value, I want to take a minute and make sure that you have a really strong understanding of some of the terms and concepts that I'm going to be using throughout this lesson. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is just a basic number line. Now in the center of our number line, we have 0. And 0 is what we call a neutral integer, meaning it doesn't have any positive value or negative value. To the right of the 0, we have our positive integers. And positive integers are whole numbers that don't have any kind of fraction or decimal component. To the left of the 0, we have our negative integers. And negative integers are also whole numbers that do not have any kind of a fraction or a decimal component. So if you want to take a minute and jot down some of the terms that we've been discussing, we talked about the fact that positive integers are integers that are whole numbers that move to the right of the 0, and negative integers are integers that move to the left of the 0, and 0 is just a neutral integer, meaning it doesn't have any positive or negative value. Okay, so I want to take a minute and talk about something called units. Now units are those little tiny lines on the number line that you see here. Okay, so right now I've circled positive 2. Now, the difference between positive 2 and negative 2, I like to think of it in a sense of money. So it's sort of the difference between me having $2 and me owing you $2. Now, the interesting thing and the important thing to remember about absolute value is we're not talking about the actual value of the number, we're talking about the absolute value. And when I say absolute value, we're talking about the number of units, or these little lines that you see from 0 to the number. So positive 2 is how many units? 2. It's 2 units away from 0. Now interestingly, our negative 2 here is also 2 units away from 0. So although they have completely different value, the number of units away they are from 0 is the same, 2. So if you want to take a minute and jot this definition down, it's always good to do that. The absolute value of a number is the distance that number is from 0. Whether it's positive or negative, it doesn't really matter. It's just the number of units it is away from 0. And you'll see absolute value notated by these long parallel lines. So when you see these 2 long lines next to your number, the question's not asking you what's the value of that number. It's asking you what is the absolute value, or how many little lines or units away from 0 is that number. Okay? So if we were to practice, let's take a minute and look at this question here. This question is asking us, and I know because I see the 2 parallel lines, what is the absolute value of 5? And all I have to think is, okay, how far away is that number from 0? Positive or negative doesn't matter. Okay, I think if you need to draw a number line, pretty simple actually, it's 5. It's 5 little lines away from 0. How about negative 9? What is the absolute value of negative 9? Well, even though it's negative, or kind of similar to owing $9, it's still 9 units away, or 9 little lines away from the 0. Okay, so I want to give you a chance to try this out. If you want, pause your video and try to find out the absolute value of 7, negative 10, 25, and negative 2. How'd you do? Okay, so the answers, and I'm pretty sure you got it right, the absolute value of 7 is 7. It's 7 little dots, 7 little lines away from the 0 space. And what about negative 10? What did you come up with for that one? Negative 10, the absolute value of negative 10 is 10 because it's 10 units away from the 0 line. The absolute value of 25, pretty simple, 25. And the absolute value of negative 2 is 2. It's pretty simple actually once you practice it and try it out. So I hope you've gotten a lot of great information about absolute value in this lesson. Join us next time when we're going to be talking about how to add integers or how to find the sums of integers. Keep practicing and I'm sure you'll get absolute value down with no problem. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.